All right, so I just absolutely demolished a three-finger meal from Cane's, and feeling good, feeling ready. Not sponsored, although I would love a sponsorship, Cane's, if you're watching. I would love it. I eat, sleep, and breathe your fried chicken tenders in that cane sauce. Nevertheless, let's review After the Hunt. The story that we're presented in After the Hunt is about a college professor who finds herself at a personal and professional crossroads when a star student levels an accusation against one of her colleagues, threatening to expose a dark secret from her own past. Now, in reading that synopsis, the plot synopsis given to me so graciously by the kingdom of Google, that did not come across to me whilst watching this film. But before I get into any of the performances, any of that, I want to start with the positives, because there are quite a few positives in this film, a lot of things that I really enjoyed. And the first thing that I really enjoyed being the setting, the place at which we get to go on the journey of this story happens at Yale. Yale is one of the premium universities in America, and I just love that aesthetic of these higher education facilities where everybody's buttoned up, wearing nice sweaters and nice clothes. And I mean, I even threw on a collared shirt tonight just to kind of enjoy that sort of vibe. And on the topic of the setting, another thing that I really liked about this film was the fact that they used practical locations, fully fleshed out built sets, whether or not they were on location or if they had to build these in studio. It felt real, and it added to the believability, and in some areas really helped to ground the setting to make it feel as if this was something that was happening in the real world. And another thing that I want to make sure, like, absolutely be positive that I shout out is the fact that this movie, whether you liked it or not, committed to a style. We live in a world now that has a lot of straight to streaming movies, and even movies that come out with theatrical releases in which they're shot with high quality cameras. They use all of the technical jargon that they're supposed to do. They use rule of thirds. They have good framing. Everything is good. They have nice lighting. All of it checks the box, but what it doesn't check is delivering a film that has heart, something that is moving and breathing. It all feels sterile. For all of its faults, and I will surely get into those, After the Hunt commits to a style, and it, if anything, will be the thing that I remember the most about this movie. This is the final positive that I'm going to touch on, which is the story itself. It was quite impressive to me that this film was able to tackle something so relevant and contemporary without coming across as preachy. And of course, with anything to do with politics, your mileage will vary, your opinions will vary, so it is what it is to you. But to me, who is somebody that is very sensitive to political messaging and any form of entertainment, frankly, no matter what it is, I don't really care for it. I felt as if they were able to talk about these subjects through the lens of the characters and their rightful motivations within the story, using that to talk about these concepts and these ideas never really felt out of place or preachy to the audience. It felt right by these characters and the motivations that you had set them up for. Okay, so with all those positives and the niceties out of the way, now it's time to get into the negatives. And I fear that I'm going to have more negatives than positives for this film, and I'm probably not going to be alone in that. I went to the early release screening through Regal Unlimited. With that context at play, I counted 2 people who got up, left the auditorium to never return, and towards the end of the film, we were probably about 80% done. Somebody in the top corner of the auditorium was snoring so comically loud that I just could not help but laugh. So I think it's safe to say that this movie probably is not going to land with the general audience if it didn't land with the people who paid an extra fee to see it a couple of days early. Now, let's dive into the reasons why those people probably left and why that person up in the top row was fast asleep. This movie was about 2 hours and 30 minutes long, and it felt like 4. And the reason for most of the pacing woes, at least in my opinion, was the fact that this movie fully committed to these establishing shots that kind of ran on a little long in the tooth, and some who enjoyed it would probably call it cinematic. Others, like myself, who didn't enjoy these types of setup shots would call it boring. Another thing that didn't really help the movie feel any shorter or any more enjoyable was the sound mixing. We're talking like worse than Chris Nolan sound mixing. And I'm genuinely convinced that there was a story worth telling and a story worth watching within this film, but I couldn't hear it. There are so many scenes, so many examples of the characters having this moment, this conversation, all of which were very intense moments, where the music was cranked up, not to 11, not to 12, to 15. And they did it in a way that was like kind of artsy, where it was always coming from a source within the scene, whether it was like a record player or this nice hi-fi audio setup that this guy had in his house or somebody wearing headphones. Like, they did it in that way, and it's cool, and I appreciate you kind of setting it in the world. But what I would appreciate more is being able to hear the dialogue of this drama that is dependent on the story. And speaking of the story, let's go ahead and dive into the things. Obviously, spoiler free, I'm not going to spoil anything. Let's dive into the kind of generalities with the story and the issues why I think that it ultimately was boring and didn't land. The film's title, After the Hunt. Ironically enough, we get 5 minutes post-hunt. Let that sink in a little bit. The movie that is titled After the Hunt does not go into the concept of what happens after the hunt. In the very beginning, the question is posed by a couple of the characters. They have this specific goal in mind, and they've worked their entire career, they've sacrificed, they committed their lives to achieving this goal. One of the other people that is at this dinner goes, "That's awesome, I'm happy for you guys, but have you ever considered what happens once you achieve said goal? What is life like for you guys? Will you be happy once you get it? Will you be devastated if you don't get it?" This movie exclusively deals with pre-hunt and the hunt itself, and then we get 5 long minutes of a conversation giving us an exposition dump on what happened after the hunt. Really, what this story is, it has nothing to do with success or failure or anything like that. It has everything to do with this person who had past trauma in their life, didn't deal with it, repressed it, let it literally eat them alive, and then manifest that same torture onto somebody else and deal with the consequences. But ultimately, as much as I am sad that it didn't land, even more damning is the fact that this movie is one of those types of movies where I'm sure if you were to rewatch it, there would be things that you missed. You'd be able to dive deeper in some of these scenes that were setting up some big payoffs. But as I sit here and do this review, I am not tempted in the slightest to even give this movie another chance. In the end, no matter how much I wanted to like After the Hunt, no matter how much I enjoyed the performances and the setting and the general vibe of this movie and how it committed to a style, the story just didn't land with me. And at the end of the day, the story is kind of all that matters. So that does mean that I would 100% recommend that you guys wait for this on streaming. Nothing really about this movie screams that you need to see it in the theater. Maybe waiting until you had a pretty shitty day and maybe there's bad weather going on outside and get a nice heavy glass of wine and just sit down and watch this would probably contribute to the atmosphere and make this a much more enjoyable watch. So there you guys have it. That is my review for After the Hunt. If you liked this video and you liked my review, please go ahead and drop a like. If you didn't like it, do nothing. That dislike button, I think YouTube said it's actually broken, so just forget about that. If you want to see more of my reviews, if you want to see anything else that I post on YouTube, make sure to drop a sub. I would greatly appreciate that. We just hit 150 subscribers. I am beyond stoked. I'm so excited for that. And if you had any thoughts and opinions about this movie, if you liked it and thought it was a masterpiece, I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on it because quite different from mine, obviously. And if you're similar to me and you just want to vent your frustrations, please also leave those in the comments below so I can kind of see what you guys thought about it. And yeah, guys, as always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.